Okay, welcome to chapter 5, which is the first chapter in the study of abnormal behavior. Whether you call it a dysfunction or a disorder or a complex or a syndrome, it still falls under the heading of abnormal. And you remember our definition of abnormal, something that is so stressful that it interferes with an individual's daily routine as far as society is concerned. First terms that we have on the list here is anxiety and fear. Anxiety, just to put a little meaning behind it, this is generalized. Can you argue about it? Of course you can argue about it. But we're just using some generalized terms with definitions to go ahead and put meaning to the terms. Anxiety in individuals who are anxious. It may start out small, whatever the feeling, whatever the distress is, and then it may become larger. Where fear usually starts out larger and then becomes small. If you disagree with that, fine. If you have some other definition, fine. But at least we're going to start out with that. And I want to make this clear, but about psychology, we have to take our own interpretation and go from there. One statement does not fit all in psychology. One syndrome, one disorder does not fit all. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. We have at the upper page in lessons, the upper part of the page, an area called Abnormal Video Library. You will be directed to this. If you can go in there and you can explore. If you haven't already, feel free to go in there and explore. There will be some specific exploration type activities that will be mentioned a little bit later. Comorbid. I thought I'd bring that term up now because we will be using it. Comorbid means that you have two disorders going on at the same time. Supposing that a person was anorexic, didn't eat, losing a lot of weight, they became depressed. So we would have anorexia as one disorder and then depression as another disorder. They're going on at the same time, so we call them comorbid. Now, the triple vulnerability model. Want this in our mind. This should just be part of our everyday conversation. First of all, the way that we can be affected to bring disorders, or individuals, not we, but individuals can be affected, is biological, psychological, and social. Yes, they overlap. They overlap. And this is an important thing to remember about abnormal behavior. It can overlap. And not only can, but it does overlap. And again, one definition does not fit all. So we're going to go down through the anxiety disorders at this time, looking at some basic definition to each one. So the first one under anxiety disorder is generalized anxiety disorder, and this is called GAD. This could be the worry ward. You know individuals that worry about every little aspect of their life. They make a headache out of everything that comes along. And if they don't have anything to really worry about, then that worries them. So general anxiety disorder, some individuals go through life with general anxiety disorder or generalized anxiety. It may not always become a disorder, but at least they exhibit the characteristics of worrying. And that's what we're looking at here. Then we have the panic disorder with agoraphobia. It mentions this in your text. It talks about some individuals in your text, Paula Deem, I believe, who learned to cook because she suffered from agoraphobia, which means fear of the marketplace. Now, we have a panic disorder. This is an interesting disorder. Basically, it comes from Greek mythology. These individuals would walk on the road to a certain place, and sometimes they would get too close to where an individual dwelt by the name of Pan, and if they would get too close to his dwelling while they were on the road, he was off of the road in his dwelling, but if they got too close to his dwelling, he'd jump up and wah! Scare him. So then this is where we get panic disorder from. Social anxiety disorder. These are individuals that are just basically concerned about, a good example here would probably be public speaking. Afraid to get up, I mean literally, physically afraid to get up and do any type of public performance, get sick, seriously sick, ill when they have to do that. Post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, this is found in a lot of individuals who have been in war and then they come home and they re-experience what is happening. Now, here's what is interesting. This is what is interesting. When most of us, as a rule, I have to qualify this because someone will always say, hey, that's not the way it happened with me. Yes, that very well could be, and I understand that. But as a rule, when we go through some type of traumatic or emotional type scenario, we will think about it. Okay. Now, that is not a disorder. But what can happen is when individuals have such an emotional recall of the event that it interferes with their daily routine, their daily living, this is when it becomes a disorder, happening to a great many of our servicemen returning from battle. And they used to have a term, shell shock, which kind of resembled what we call now post-traumatic stress. Obsessive compulsive and related disorders, this basically is individuals have a certain routine. They have to go through that routine. If they don't go through that routine, they cannot continue on with life, basically, or continue on with their routine. And I know an individual that would have to turn the lights on and off 25 times before they would leave the room. And then when they would come into a room, they would have to go to the light switch and turn the lights on and off 25 times. Individuals compulsively wash their hands. Now, at one time, hoarding come under OCD, Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. But now, in the DSM-5, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders 5, hoarding has its own category. Body dysmorphic disorder. People don't like the way they look. And because they don't like the way they look, advertisers just wring their hands and say, okay, we'll go ahead and we'll provide something that will improve your looks. And if that's not enough, we can go to some special surgeon and have our face revamped so it looks better, or put extra fat in our biceps, extra fat in our butt so it sticks out further, extra fat in our calf muscles so we look more like a Hulk. All kinds of that. And breast implants go along with this too. One of the interesting aspects of this is that individuals under the age of 30 that want to do something about their body are individuals who have spent a great deal of time taking selfies. I mean, they take a picture of themselves and they don't like the way they look. And so, hey, we're going to change it because we want to look different. We want to look better. Okay, we have trichotillomania. That's pulling the hair out. And we have expiration. That's picking yourself. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about self-injury. I have just a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to let you go ahead and carry the ball on that in the assignment. But anyway, self-injury. We wonder why individuals cut themselves. Diana cut herself. Diana of England cut herself. And she was a cutter. But why do people hurt themselves? Intentionally. Well, this happens. I mean, if individuals get some type of piercing, they know that there's a certain amount of pain with that. Individuals out in the sun and get a sunburn, they know that there's a certain amount of pain with that. Individuals who get tattooed realize that there's a certain amount of pain with that. So it's not that uncommon, the pain. The only thing is, with these individuals who are serious about this, number one, they do not want to take their life. They do not want to commit suicide. And number two, with individuals who are self-cutters, they have been abused emotionally. Number three, with, I'm going to say, self-cutters, are individuals who are probably very bright and somewhat of a perfectionist. Now, those are the three things that we can look at with a self-cutter. These individuals are trying to escape some emotional inner pain, an emotional pain, by substituting it with an outward physical pain. It's kind of interesting with these individuals who self-cut. Like I said, they do not want to take their life. They are bright. But the first time that these self-cutters perform this type of cutting, they really makes them feel good. They feel emotionally relieved. And for the most part, another aspect of self-cutting is that it is primarily performed by females. Starting even at a young age, but it is primarily performed by females. So in order to compensate for something that is inside, the emotional aspects that are inside, they want to do something that is outside. Most of them have been abused, like I said. Many of them are perfectionists, very capable individuals. They're just trying to go through the ritual of self-cutting, self-mutilation, whatever term you want to put and connect with this, in order to go ahead and bear that emotional burden that they're carrying within them. Okay, this is on anxiety. To a certain degree, I would imagine that a large number of individuals, to a degree, a large number of individuals have experienced one of these. Now, with obsessive compulsive disorder, I'm going to mention this, just going back and review. There's an obsessive compulsive disorder, but there's also an obsessive compulsive personality disorder. These are two separate entities. This pretty much takes care of anxiety. There'll be some further activities in assignments and forums, so you will be able to continue on with this. And remember the library, the abnormal video library. You can go through that. You can look at the various aspects that are contained in there, and there will be some assignments connected with that. So, until we meet at chapter 6, you folks have a good day.